Humanity Matters.
Hello, and thank you for joining me here today. I'm your host, Bernie Furshpan of Raised by Survivors on hmTV here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center of Nassau County. I have a very special guest today, a very dear friend for a very long time. I'm not going to say how many years. She might, but it's been a very long time. And we've stayed in touch throughout the years. And I'd like to know today from Eti Znamirowski LeMoullec.
You got it.
Fantastic. What it was like growing up with two survivors. So I'm going to ask you a few questions, but thank you so much for joining me today.
My pleasure.
Welcome to our museum.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. It is a beautiful place, and we do a lot of incredible things here with young people, and we believe that it's actually making an impact. Education is very important. As you know, it does help mitigate. It's not the only solution, but it's one of the solutions. And if enough people do it, I think we can move the needle, hopefully. Well, Eti, it's such a pleasure to have you here with me. I have some very fond memories of when we were children in Brooklyn. I don't remember too much about Yazul. That's the little village we all grew up in for a short period of time. Maybe you didn't, but
Right,
your
'cause
sister
you were
did.
older.
Right, and your sister did.
Yes.
Your sister Tova. But I do remember when we were young in Brooklyn, New York, when you guys visited us, and then we went up to Spring Valley to visit you and your family. What was it like growing up with two Holocaust survivors? And when was the first time you realized that they were survivors?
I wouldn't have traded it for the world. I just thought every parent, was like my parent.
Yeah.
We always spoke about the Holocaust. Kids had bedtime stories. We had Holocaust stories. It was normal.
How far back do you think that they started? How soon did they tell you some stories about their experiences?
My earliest memories.
Your earliest
Yeah.
memories?
I'm
would you say?
amazed when I hear people say their parents never spoke about
Right.
it.
My parents did not speak about it for many years. But your parents,
Day one.
they told you stories. And how did they tell the stories? Was it
Abba, my
traumatic for you, would you say?
It wasn't, because it was coming from a place of love, and the way they told us, it wasn't, they weren't crying, they weren't it was very matter of fact.
Right.
And it always ended with, but we're here with you now, so we're the winners. So It was great.
I love the fact that they did speak to you about it at an early age, and the way they presented it to you. So, objectively. And
One of my favorite stories was Abba told us the last thing his mother said to him was, remember your name, because she and his sisters were being put on the truck and they knew that they were going to be gassed. So my grandmother pushed my father, said, run back to town, tell everybody what's happening, but remember your name.
So what town was this in?
Lodz, Poland.
Oh, okay. And my mom, I believe, grew up in a village just north of Lodz.
There you go.
And so you're saying that they were put in a truck.
It was taking them to Chelmno.
Oh, to Hamano. That's right, which is near Lodz, actually,
Right.
south of Lodz.
And years later, when we took the kids back to Chelmno with my parents, we went to the forests where they ended up being killed, dug up. Nothing is really buried there. They just left. But you could tell where the people died because everything was a green like you've never, the most beautiful color green. And it's different from the surrounding land. So we just dug up and there were bones. It's symbolic for us, but we brought it back and we buried it in our cemetery here in America.
How old were your parents during the Holocaust?
Ima was younger than Abba. Daddy was, when he was supposed to be bar mitzvahed, he was in Auschwitz, an only survivor.
He's the only survivor, like my dad.
Yeah.
And how many people in his family?
It was him and 3 sisters and his parents. My mom was one of 8. She was an only survivor.
Oh, like my dad. My dad was one of 8 and the only survivor. How did she escape?
Her and her mom, my mom is from Russia, from Odessa.
Right.
So my mom went on the march, survived with my grandmother. That's why I believe my grandmother and my mom had the most amazing attachment to each other. They lived for each other because they were the only two to survive. My mom's birth dad died the first day of the war. He was in the Red Army. And then my grandmother went on to remarry Saba, my grandfather, and they had 2 more kids, my aunts. It's just everyday life for us talking about it.
What's the one word you think about when you think about your parents?
To describe them?
Yeah, your experience with them. One
The
word.
best.
The best.
The best.
They loved you guys.
They lived for us.
So it's just you and your sister,
Right.
and they gave you everything,
100%.
just like my parents.
Yeah,
Holocaust survivors were very special people.
the best.
They appreciated the little things, the simple things.
Every day.
And they loved their families. They became actually very successful business people here in America because they appreciated not only their family, but their clientele and all the small things that people take for granted.
Never took anything for granted.
And they didn't.
Never.
That's why they were so successful. You know, it's something that we learned from our parents as well. I think second generation survivors also inherited some of this, behavior. I know that I've paid attention to details when it came to my business, and I learned that from my father, just watching him work and the way he dealt with his clientele.
And Tzedakah is everything.
Yes, that's so important. And so in what way have you contributed to your community?
It's funny because when we were getting married, I told my husband, you have to know 2 things. My parents will always come first, and I believe in Tzedakah. And then after we were married and he saw my Tzedakah, he said, you didn't tell me it was going to be so much. I work for not-for-profits, group homes for the disabled, always volunteering, Keep America Beautiful. I'm on the board, the American Cancer Society.
Fantastic.
Women's American Art. Always. My kids were out of school for 20 years. I was still on the PTA. Always, to me, I have to give back.
Our parents were very resilient in order to survive, and they were very strong. And growing up, I rarely saw my parents cry. I think more my mom than my dad. Did you see your parents cry, and do you remember why they cried?
The only time I can remember my dad crying is when my grandmother died, my mom's mom, because she became his mom. And then when we went back to Poland with the kids and my parents, my dad wanted to show my kids the house he grew up in. And we went to the house, and a woman opened the door, and she recognized us as Jews, like always wearing my star. She was not Jewish, and my dad explained to her in Polish, he's here to show his kids and grandkids, and she would not let him in.
Really?
She said, I know why you're here, you're Jewish, and you want to take it back.
Right.
And that's the only time I could see my dad really having tears.
Oh, that's sad.
But
That you went all the way over there. He wanted to show you how he grew up. I don't think they had any interest. My father went back to his village too, to unearth the remains of those that were massacred in the mass grave. And I think that some of the villagers there who were descendants of the collaborators with the Nazi regime, I think that they were also concerned that they were going to take back their homes. But they just wanted to tell this story to their to their children. Like your dad.
When we went back, the hotel we stayed in, Lodz in Europe had the largest Jewish population before the war. It was
More than Warsaw?
No, Lodz.
Really?
The largest Jewish population. So we stayed there, and when we came out of the hotel in the morning, somebody had spray painted, the game Hangman?
Yes.
They spray painted a hangman on the side of the building, and instead where the person hangs, they spray painted a Jewish star.
Wow.
So that was like my kids, we grew up in Rockland
It
County.
was shocking.
They had never been exposed to it. I wasn't either. We grew up in Spring Valley, Muncie.
Right. Very Jewish community.
And then that night at the hotel, we ate dinner. And when the waitress brought over our food, she held my plate in front of me, and she went, "Pooh." She spit in the food because I was a Jew. And my kids were like mortified. So when we were walking around the town, there was an antique store, and there was a beautiful Hanukkah, a menorah. And I said to my husband, I'm buying it, I'm taking it home. And he said, you cannot. And it's the only time he's ever said no to me. And I looked like, why not? It belonged to a Jewish family, I'm bringing it home. And he said, because they stole it from a Jewish family, and now you're going to give them money for it? They're making out.
Wow.
And we did not take it.
I didn't think of it that way. That's
I didn't
a
either.
good point that he made.
Yeah.
It's a great observation. Do you think that being raised by survivors shaped how your parents approached parenting, like discipline and gratitude and expectations with your own children?
I just assumed all parents were like that. Family comes first. Is that a Holocaust thing?
It might be those that have experienced trauma and adversities in life are more grateful. You know, when somebody ends up in a hospital and they come out of the hospital, all of a sudden they love everybody.
Right.
And that's because they have a second chance. You know, when you have a second chance, you appreciate the little things in life. So I
They
think
were appreciative of everything.
Everything.
in life. Everything. After every meal, my mother would always say, God bless America. And it would be, what does America have to do with that dish you just had? And she said, because look at the life we're living.
regarding the meaning of food, because it's a little different for Holocaust survivors, many survivors had complicated relationships with food after experiencing starvation. Like my dad, who lived in a forest for 3 years. He ate tree bark, he ate rabbit carcass, he ate berries, if he can find non-poisonous berries, and mushrooms. And somehow he managed to get through that after 3 years. I don't know what he looked like.
The first thing my dad ate when he got out of Auschwitz was a German Shepherd.
Wow, no kidding.
Yeah.
How's that? Was it dead or did he kill it?
I don't know.
Wow, that's incredible. Did you notice any habits around like saving food or finishing everything on your plate or never wasting anything as a part of your upbringing?
Look, we always ate everything on our plate, obviously, but that was just because my mom was a phenomenal cook. You know, I never thought of it any other way. I know food was very important with my mom and dad because my dad had starved. You know, after Auschwitz, here he is almost 16. He looked like he was 10.
Right.
So my mom would never begrudge him anything.
Yeah, my father, when he came out of the forest, from what he described to me was a nightmare, and it was just incredible that he survived minus 20 degrees out in the cold like that for 3 years. But he said he was like a skeleton, and it took a long time until he normalized. He ended up in a DP camp. Did your parents end up in a DP camp?
My mom did.
Mm-hmm.
Abba, after the war, they sent him to Gerlitz, a labor camp.
They did?
Yeah, he went to Gerlitz, and then after...
Why was he in a labor camp after the war? The war was over.
Don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Was it forced labor? Was he getting paid for it?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
And where was that? Was that in Germany?
Gerlitz, I believe it was Germany.
Germany.
You know, the borders kept changing, like Poland, Germany.
Right.
For the longest time, I thought my dad was born in Germany. And then one day he said, Poland. I said, you always said Germany. And that's when they explained, depending when it was.
Right. Like my dad was in Poland, and now it's the Ukraine. So those borders also changed. But go ahead, continue.
So after the war, my dad joined the underground.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, after the war, when he tried getting to Palestine, Israel, he was arrested. They took him into Cyprus. He was in jail for a year.
Wow.
And then he did join the underground, and the job was to smuggle refugees between Germany and Poland. And his job was being a driver. And the reason why they gave it to him is he did look like a child. So they figured no one would believe this is the driver. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a good one. Abba, he was told, whatever you do, you never stop. Once you get everybody in the truck and you get across the border, you do not stop no matter what. So one day, Abba was driving, and a child fell out of the back of a truck. And the mother started to scream. So my dad stopped the truck, and the other people in the truck are screaming, keep going. But my dad could not leave the child. So he stopped. They were shot at. Mm-hmm. He got the child, threw the child back into the back of the truck, and they went. And then once he got across the border, he disappeared. Years later, he got to Israel. He was part of the underground that made Israel. And he actually saw my mother walking in the street. And he followed her home. And he knocked on the door. And my grandmother answered. And he said, I'd like permission to date your daughter. So she invited him in, and she called my mother and said, he would like to date you. And my mother said, who are you? Never met him before. And my grandmother heard him speaking and said, you sound like one of us. Sit down. And she made him something to eat. And they're sharing stories. And she, she's listening to the stories. And she said her biggest regret in life, she was never able to thank the driver who threw Rivka back into the truck. It was my mom. You gotta be kidding me. It was meant to be.
You are kidding me.
Yeah.
What are the chances of that?
They were married 6 weeks later.
Unbelievable story.
Yeah.
I didn't even know all of this.
They lived for each other and they died for each other.
Unbelievable.
That's the way it is.
How do you carry this memory forward? I mean, what have you told your children? How have you educated them about your parents' story?
My parents always spoke to them the way they
spoke to them directly.
Absolutely. When we went to Auschwitz, my dad took the kids. In fact, my favorite photo in the world is Abba walking in under the Arbeit Machfrei sign with my kids and his arms around them. I wouldn't say he had the last laugh, but he's the winner.
God bless him.
Yeah. Well, you knew my dad. Great guy.
Yeah, he was a great guy. I knew your parents. They were terrific people.
The best.
My parents loved them. I know they had a very good relationship over the many years. And I brought my father to your home when you were sitting Shiva. I think both your parents passed away within days.
My dad died. We sat Shiva, and the day we finished sitting Shiva, my mom died.
Soulmates. They were meant to be together.
100%.
And it had quite an impact on the way both of you were raised and your children and Tova's children, I'm sure. Do you feel a sense of responsibility to tell young people to be kinder to one another? What are the lessons that you learned that you want to share with young people today?
You know, the kids, they saw my parents every day. We lived near each other on purpose. The last 7 months of their life, I lived with them to help take care. They knew family is everything. They always volunteered in school for things. Gabrielle, to this day, her best memories are with my parents. Gabrielle being my youngest.
Right. That's wonderful.
Yeah, we are truly blessed.
They left quite a legacy. And I believe your father was very successful in development or construction.
In construction. You know, in Israel, he was part of Eget, the bus company.
Right.
So you're a big shot there.
Yeah.
The only reason why they came to America was because my grandparents came to America, and they couldn't make a living here. So my parents came to help them. And one of my dad's friends was a carpenter in Spring Valley. We were in Crown Heights in Brooklyn. So my dad came to Spring Valley, and my mom couldn't understand why it took so long for him to come home every night. Well, it was so far then.
Yeah.
And his friend said, I'll get you a job helping. My dad did not speak English, and he met the foreman on the construction site, and the gentleman said, can you build medicine cabinets? And my dad's friend was standing next to the foreman, and he's going like, say yes.
Yeah.
So my dad shook his head, yes. He got the job. And then when they left the site, my dad said to his friend, what's a medicine cabinet? And then he goes on to become a successful builder.
And my dad did the same thing. I saw him do it. I actually witnessed him saying, yes, I can do that. I can fix this. I've done that before. And then he learned how to do it. I learned that same technique. You have to be positive, you have to be optimistic, and you have to work hard. You got to figure things out.
No one was more optimistic than my dad.
My dad had to solve a lot of problems, and he did. And especially surviving through the Holocaust, you had to problem solve constantly. And so it's an incredible skill that I think they passed on to us. I'm going to ask you a couple of lightning round questions, okay?
Okay.
Growing up in a survivor household meant...
Family was everything.
Okay, here's some survivor kitchen votes. Thumbs up or thumbs down. And if you want to say anything about any of these foods that we grow up with, kishka.
The best.
The best. I loved kishka.
Love.
I don't like the stuffed derma today. That's what it's called, stuffed derma.
Right.
That's fake, the fake derma.
Well,
I love
they're
the
not allowed.
authentic derma.
You're not allowed to sell it anymore.
And why is that?
Because it's the
Toxic?
intestine type.
Yes, it could be toxic. But it didn't kill anybody.
It worked for us.
It worked for us. Look at us now. We're
Right.
fine. We grew up on kishka. Chopped liver.
Had it yesterday.
Okay. Gefilte fish.
Sweet only.
Sweet only.
And never a jar.
With a little jelly.
Yuck.
Whatever that is, right? The jelly. And then the carrot. A
Horseradish.
slice of carrot on top with red horseradish.
Sweet red horseradish.
Fantastic. Pecha.
I'll give it to my sister.
Okay. That thing was scary looking.
Because it wobbled.
It jiggled.
See?
It's made out of, it sounds like a witch's brew. It's made out of calf hoofs boiled, right? With garlic and meat and eggs. It's like, oh my God, it's like a dead body. It seems like a dead body anyway. I told my mom, I said, can't you make spaghetti and meatballs like the Russos next door when I saw this? But I didn't realize she made this for my dad because she raised my dad. Not only did she raise two boys, she raised my father because he was traumatized at age 10 when his whole family was wiped out. Your parents went through the same thing. Shjav.
Could take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Oh, I tasted it once.
Anything that comes in a jar like that.
Right.
Skeezes
It's
me
made
out.
out of sorrel leaves. I don't know what sorrel leaves are, but it sounds like it
Doesn't
comes
sound
from a
good.
swamp. Right? Borscht.
Only my mom's.
Krepelach. Fantastic.
Have it all the time.
Have it all the time.
Fried
with
onions.
fried onions.
Yes.
There you go.
High five.
Right? Even chicken liver and beef liver
Fried onions.
with fried onions. The best.
I always have fried onions ready made in the fridge.
This is Polish food, by the way. People think it's Jewish food, but it's really Polish food. Those
It's
that
Jewish
Jews, it is Jewish. We turned it into Jewish food, but those that lived in Morocco ate Moroccan food. But this is what the Polish people ate. The Polish Jews, they assimilated to the culture. One phrase you heard growing up all the time.
Zeigazin.
Okay, that's a good one. My mom used to say it's not the end of the world because she saw the end of the world in her eyes. So whatever we're going through, relatively speaking, people would, from the Holocaust, would jump up and down to have my problems. They would.
True.
Yeah. One lesson you carry with you. What is the most important lesson your parents experienced that they passed on to you?
Family is everything.
Oh, wow. That is huge. I agree. My mom wanted me to be a good father and a good husband. I wanted to be a pilot. And she said, what kind of a father are you going to be? You're going to be traveling around the world. How are you going to raise your kids? I said, okay, you're right, Ma. I loved her. I wanted to make her happy. I really did.
We live for that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. So, Eti, thank you so much
My pleasure.
for joining me here today on Raised by Survivors.
Our parents would be kvelling right now.
They would. I think they are quelling. I think they're all up there looking down and they're saying, let's...
Eating chant.
Okay, this was terrific, right?
Absolutely.
Chunt was another one. That was fantastic with the marrow bone. There's nothing like it.
The best.
I would kill for it, honestly. I would.
Come over. We'll make it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My daughter makes it now.
Okay. We'll
Yeah.
come over.
got it.
Fantastic. Eti, thank you so much. And to all of our listeners, thank you so much for joining me today on hmTV. I'm Bernie Furshpan, host of Raised by Survivors. Until next time.